people say we don't come together, and we're here all the time. We don't take it on board. But know that if Marcus Garvey or Malcolm X were alive today, as much as we like the rhetoric, nobody would be any more convinced by their machinations. It sounds nice, but the vast majority of us are so indoctrinated that we're very sick. And there is a cabal of maybe 15 to 20% who are very active. And you see the same people in the same places, only because of the digital era, we're not separated by any one degree. And that's internationally. We are internationally connected like we've never been at any time in history. And the truth is we're blessed. So tonight is about taking personal responsibility for our politics, not the politics of Downing Street, but the politics of our own communities. And the way that Garvey took Harlem during the Depression and enabled 1,000 people to have employment when Europeans were throwing themselves off roofs because the stock market crashed. It's coming again. It's coming here. And you'll see it a lot quicker in the States. So this is our opportunity to prepare. And this is the term we've been banding around, that's Blaxit. It's about separation. It's about separation based on taxation, because we can donate all of our taxable income to our charitable entities and to our trusts. That's a self-sustaining ecosystem. When we do that, we're free. And trusts lie outside of UK legislation. In fact, they lie outside of all national legislations. So we make our trusts international in nature. So when you look at an APAC, which is an Israeli lobbying committee, we can do exactly the same. And then it's just plugging in state by African state, which is modular. When we start to think modular and scalable, we become dangerous, because you have to start from where you are. And we always have these grandiose plans. And everybody talks in a very romantic way about Garvey and where he was before the FBI and this transvestite Hoover took him down. Where he was a culmination of many relationships.
Steve Biko said many things, and one of the things I remember for today is he stated that a community is easily divided if their perception of the same thing is different. I mention that because in this country, what often gets touted as the most tolerant country within the European Union, for many reasons, doesn't necessarily describe the reality that we face today as African and Caribbean people. So I just want to touch on some of that reality that, so that we could have a clear foundation as to where we are today. So we have a population in the UK overall of about 67 million people. Of that, there's 1.9 million African Caribbean people. Of that 1.9 million African Caribbean people, we have about 1.85 million who are living in urban environments. Of those people who are living in urban environments, most of us are living in the most impoverished, overcrowded environment, where there's a statistic where it states that black people on the whole are living in overcrowded environments 3 times more than their white counterpart. When it comes to the areas that we live in, many of us actually, and I'll probably do a survey after to find out who lives in East and South London, or some East and South areas of where they live. Because those areas are actually the poorest areas of any vicinity you'd have in the UK. Why? Because in the Industrial Revolution, they had to think of where they were going to put the factories and think where the smoke from those trade winds were going to take all the carbon monoxide and noxious fumes, and so they weren't going to build those in the east sides of any kind of constituency. They were going to build them in the south and the east. And oftentimes many of us live in the south and the east of wherever we are. When it comes to education, so we've had a recent change in grades, right, in terms of going from A, B, A to C's, and now it's a grade 9 to, I think, U. It's U1 now, isn't it? Okay. So I think on a recent stat, considering that, you know, education is something that's really been formidable and pushed in our culture, after, let's say, 12 years of education, I think the statistic now is that we have less than 38% of our young people coming out with a grade 5 in maths and English. After 12 years. We also, unfortunately, have a 3 times more likely, if not more than that, exclusion rate compared to our white counterparts. And something Brother D mentioned about our PRUs and our people referral units, when we're looking at our borough statistics, they don't get included in the Ofsted reports of whether it's good or outstanding or satisfactory. Why? Because they're outside of that agenda. So you don't know how many people or how many of our young people are actually being educated within the PRU and what their standards are, because they're not included in the stats. And we know we're overrepresented there. We also know that from the many amount of our young people who are within our PRUs, that's a direct pipeline into the prison system. Let's say we don't go there. Let's say we have a child who survives the educational system and then completes their A-levels. Compared to their white counterparts, if they manage to complete their A-levels, their salary is going to be at least 17.3 times less than their white counterpart. Let's say they go further, say, oh no, I don't want to just stay on my A-levels, I want to go to university, right? Okay. Well, unfortunately, the ironic thing is that the wage gap is worse. It's 23.1% less than their white counterpart for the same degree. Okay? When we're looking at our mortality rates within the areas that we live in, unfortunately, we have African women who, in some cases, are deemed to be 7 times more likely to have a higher mortality rate than our white counterparts, and 3 times more likely to be incarcerated within a mental health institution. Okay, these are just facts. You could check it on your what you call your on ONS, your Office for National Statistics. You could check it on the government website. That's where we are today. So I just put that as a point of clarity before we have a discussion about whether or not we're living in a tolerant society. Because at the end of the day, I think that something, if we're experiencing this and we call this tolerant, I think, to say it politely, they have a damn nerve.
Mm-hmm. Things are happening, we are moving, but it's a choice. So a man or a woman is responsible for themselves. Look in the mirror. I have been robbed. Do you know what I did? I know that. Why you put yourself in that position? Did I put myself in the position again? I didn't think it was acceptable. And I come from a place, good or bad, we don't call police.
That's right.
It doesn't matter. But I'm going to tell you why. You see, you think this is a thing of criminals, and there was a period in my younger life I was a petty criminal. But it is more historic than that. When we were on plantations, we plan and plot to escape. The informer is the one that destroyed our master plan. No matter we were numerically more than the overseers, they were more organized, and we were mentally and spiritually broken. There is a lion spirit that can beat any environment or any circumstance, but they are a tiny minority. They are the organizers. They are your Nat Turners. But Stephens Stevens largely outnumber. That is the history of why we don't inform. Understand, the history of us having slang, which is looked down upon, is because our language is stolen. So we have to have a different lens for these things. Your lens must be an African lens, not a European lens that looks down on African people, which is easy. Even after I put on a dashiki, if my mindset is of indoctrination, it doesn't matter what I display externally. As I come in a room, dress like I dress, speak like I speak, people have a perception that I have a European woman and I do this and do that. No matter, go look your mother and father. What is of all importance is what you do. And when you tell me you know, I tell you, knowing is doing. So if you not do it, you're not sweet FA. And I don't care if we acknowledge it today, tomorrow, we know. We're gonna break for 10 minutes. Everybody have some drink at the back. There's a lovely lady with some food. There are black dolls. There is international travel and books at the back. People, please, 10 minutes. Thank you.